All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Word with Ty Brownlow. I am your host, Ty Brownlow, and remember, no one is worthless. No story is worthless. And today, ladies and gentlemen, I have a very special guest for you. Give you a couple of words about my guest. Author, connections, trust, resourceful, all the way from the ATL, give it up, Atlanta, for those of y'all who don't know what ATL means. Atlanta, give it up for Miss Adrienne Allen. How are you?
I am wonderful, Todd. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Okay, that's what we are about around here. We are about the excitement, and actually, I'm kind of excited. We work together, but we don't work together. So I'm just going to let everybody know the connection. Adrienne is a publicist, and I have worked with a couple of her clients. So we have worked together through that connection. But this is the first time that we're actually virtually face to face.
Virtually face to face, yes.
And we're making the connection live. So
yes.
She's here. She's a guest on Word with Ty Brownlow. So we're going to treat her like family. That's what's up. All right.
That's what's up.
So now, some of the words I use to describe you, one of the words I used was author. And you just published a book, My Parents Have a Drug Problem. Now,
yes.
What a title. Okay.
Yes.
Let's talk about it a little bit. Tell us a little bit about this book.
So for me, this is my story. It's a portion of my story. I am the child of addicts. Both my parents were alcoholics and drug addicts. And obviously, this has been my life for 40 plus years, right? Mm-hmm. But for some reason, COVID, pandemic, being in the house, whatever you want to call it, it finally sat on my heart. I think just knowing the things and the dynamics that are happening right now, everything is closed, people are home. And for a lot of children, school was an escape, right? It's like you had after school programs, you had school, you had anything going on that could get you away from your home life, especially if your home life is not one that is traditionally normal. And so for me, understanding, I had the experience of my dad borrowing my stuff, and it never come back, or one time he had the audacity to even ask me, it was like Sega Genesis time, right? And it was like, let me hold your Genesis, let me borrow it. But for me, at 11 or 12 years old, I already knew that meant that I would never see it again, right? And so this is the reality that children who live with addicted parents face every day. And I had never seen a book that spoke to addiction in a child's perspective. It's like whenever we hear about addiction, we hear about the addict going through, we hear about recovery, we hear about the battle that the addict has, but we never hear about the child that is battling this addiction with them, right? Because we don't have a choice. Kids don't have anywhere else to go. These are our parents. And so as your parent struggles, the child is the one left hungry, no food in the refrigerator, no furniture in the house sometimes, toys disappearing. These are truly real experiences. And so I wrote this actually a long time ago as a poem. And like I said, just last few months, in the middle of last year, I was like, I can turn this into a book. Okay. And I was so stuck initially, right? Because this is your baby. It's like, oh my God, no, it can't have this many words. And no, this is the way it was.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
And so it was like, I had so much stress in the early part of publishing this book because I felt like I couldn't take away from the story. And then it was like, after I found an actual publisher, and then, having conversations with them, and they were like, well, and then the printing also, I don't know if you've ever published a book, but it's got to be a certain amount of pages and this, that, and the third. And so it became more of a struggle than just letting it go. And so once I let it go, and when I tell you this was this was like a little 5-paragraph soliloquy that I had. It was probably like 30 words total originally. And now it's a full children's book. So
But you know what? So let's speak on that for a second. Like that's innovation. And let's just speak. So I was nosy. I had to dig deep. So I got a little bit into who Adrienne Allen was.
Okay.
is because you here now. We giving you these.
Right.
But you are originally from Baltimore.
Yes.
Okay. So now, for those who don't know, because there are some people out there who have never been east of the Mississippi or west of the Mississippi. So,
right.
But for those who don't know, just give us a little background into what was like in Baltimore when you were growing up, especially during these times of like drug addicted parents.
Yeah, so Baltimore is a town that, for lack of and so this is an issue I had with the publisher, right? Because I was like, a town synonymous for drug and murder, and and they're like, well, Adrienne, you can't say that. The leadership in Baltimore might feel some kind of way, and I'm like, but the leadership in Baltimore knows, like,
right? Like, what are we talking about here?
Like they know, and so Baltimore is, it's very unfortunate that most of the shows, I think, Rock, for those who are old enough to remember, Rock may have been the only one. I can't even think of another one. Rock was probably the only positive show based in Baltimore that I can recall.
I'm telling you. Yes.
And somebody might check me on this, but I don't know. But when you can think of Rock for one, but then you have The Wire, you have Homicide: Life on the Streets, right. You have The Corner, like all of these shows are based on Baltimore. And of course, when people meet me and I say, oh, I'm from Baltimore. Oh, let me hide my stuff. Let me put my, you got a gun on you? You got a knife? What you got? But that is, and then it's either, it's that, and then is Baltimore like that for real? Like I saw it on television. Is that really how it is? And it's unfortunate that it is. It really, Baltimore is a place, I speak a lot about the opioid crisis and the opioid epidemic because they have really funneled money into this opioid addiction and this opioid crisis. And, it's really high level. Oh my God, opioids are horrible and what the opioids are doing to people. But you didn't do all of this when it was crack doing it to people. It was like we had the crack addiction between Baltimore and New York far outseeds, and let me rewind that because I don't want to say that. Yeah, like I don't want, the publicist in me is like, let me not say that.
Okay, all right, okay.
I feel like they are equally as detrimental to society, although one truly focuses on one demographic of people and one focuses on another demographic of people. And the one that focuses on the other demographic of people is the one that they are funneling money into. And so it's, like for us who dealt with it, 80s, 90s crack epidemic, and, we saw the junkie on the corner, that junkie lane, and as kids, and, again, I can't take anything away from my childhood because my childhood was mine and it shaped me into who I am now. Right. And, for us back then, it was a joke. You see the junkie on the corner. It's like, look at him. He ain't gonna fall, because for people who are familiar, it's like the junkie might get like 9/10 to the ground. And
but he never fought.
And right back up like nothing ever happened.
Like,
they ain't gonna fall. And so for us, it's like we see that, we taking bets. We, these are conversations we have as children. But, again, the other side of that, especially smaller children, like as preteens, teenagers, we have a better understanding. But when you're a small child and you see that, or, like your dad's passed out on the couch and you can't wake him up, your mom is overdosed in the bathroom and you can't wake her up, these are things that are traumatic experiences for these children. And I wanted to have an outlet for children like myself who didn't have people having these conversations with them, right? So I did have, there's an accompanying guide that goes with the book. It's called A Guide to Talking to Children About Drug Addiction. because we aren't having those conversations. We aren't having the conversations because children aren't asking the questions, and children aren't asking the questions because it's normal for them.
So I'm so glad that you just said that. And, I sort of want to get into this later on when we're talking about PR versus publicists a little bit with certain things that have been going on in the media in the past 48 hours. But, we'll get into that in a second,
Okay.
And, we're going to reel it back, So, I'm here in Chicago. Raised here in Chicago, certain parts of Chicago. Of course, they always glorify on the news. So I can attest to everything that you're speaking of, Sometimes it's pretty much as if you don't want to tell people you're from a certain place because you already know what the reaction is going to be.
Right.
So
I have friends that be like, no, I'm from Maryland.
Right. Okay. You know what? I've used Evanston sometimes, you know what I'm saying? But, like, where you from? Evanston? You don't seem like you're from Evanston. Yeah, I'm on the south side.
Down there, like at the end.
Yeah, there's a certain part.
That part.
Yeah. There you go. But no. So as far as age range, like what age ranges would you say your book is hitting towards?
I would definitely say it's between 4 and 11. And 4 is on the low side, but I say 4 because it's a picture book. Okay. And it's broken down, very 1-2 word sentences on the page, very easy to understand. And also I added icons on the book. So when it gets to a particular page, this is a guiding light for you to ask the question. So I mentioned the laid out on the couch like the dad. So there is a part in the book that says, sometimes I can't wake my daddy up. And so this is the opportunity to ask, like, have you ever seen your dad laid out, or how did that make you feel? Like if you can't wake your daddy up, I want children to be able to have these conversations, and guardians, social workers, whoever is having these conversations with these children, to have a guide frame and a guideline, an outline. I think I combined like 4 words together, just like, but to have an outline of how to guide the conversation, because there are people who don't understand it. If you've never been through it,
true,
you don't necessarily understand it. Some people can. If you're trained to understand it, great. But if you are somebody who is taking this child into your house that have had no prior experience with this book is for you. This book is going to provide you the opportunity to have these conversations. And most of these children are smaller children, pre-K, kindergarten, first grade. These are children that go to school and they're afraid to let people know they're hungry. Or they've been conditioned to not tell people they're hungry because mommy knows if the teachers find out you're hungry, then the police are going to come to the house.
Right.
And so, they're not having these conversations because they have been conditioned and threatened that if you tell, mommy's going to leave you. You won't see mommy anymore. Daddy's going to go away and you'll never see daddy again. And so, they're like, they go to school and they just sit and act like their normal is the normal that they should have.
And that's wrong, because that's the anxiety in a child who eventually at some point will act out, and it will come out in some shape, form, or fashion, whether it be in behavior, whether it be in grades, whether it be in, as I said, social interaction or what have you. It will come out in some shape, form, or fashion. I think you're on to something. And no, seriously. And for all of my people in social services listening, watching this right now, like you should, So, man, look, seriously, like, go. Okay, first and foremost, where can we get this book?
So the book is available on Amazon and barnesandnobles.com. Okay. I am working to get it into some other places. And you spoke of social workers, so that is actually on my agenda. I want to try to get into the school systems and get into the Department of Social Services and Family and Children Services to potentially buy this book in bulk and have it for teachers and social workers who need it. And, if you don't know how to have the conversation with children, or if you need the item to help you have it, like, this is it. And I do want to mention, it's the funniest thing, Ty.
Come on now.
So my book, and I meant to have one down here with me, edit this part out, but I meant to bring one down here. But the cover of my book does have a Caucasian family on the cover. And what has been interesting to me is that our people are the ones that are the first to say, "Where the Black people?" And I'm like, don't you all want to get away from the stereotype? Like, it's not just us. We aren't the only ones that get high. Like, actually, they get high more than we do, statistically.
Yeah.
Caucasian users outweigh African-American users. And so the book is very diverse, though. I have Caucasian family, African-American family, Hispanic family. I have all families represented in the book. But it's just been funny to me that my people are the people that are like, who are these white people on the cover?
Well, okay. Well, you know what? Purchase the book, take it home, then you can ask the questions.
Yes.
Great review, though. You can leave a great review.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. Do that.
Yeah. Please leave a great review and then ask your question.
Yes.
So it's a 3-step process. Purchase the book, read the book, leave a great review. I'm sorry, 4-step. Then you can leave your question. Okay. All right. And then there you go. All right. Now, I want to move into pretty much, what I guess I'm going to say what you're known for, in these streets of ATL, here in not only, Atlanta, but, all along the East Coast and making your way Midwest and over to the West Coast as well.
Yes.
So, IPY Agency LLC. Okay, let's talk about this now. All right.
Yes. So I am a publicist.
Yes.
I've been working in PR for almost 20 years now. The IPY agency actually was I'm Promoting You. I started out, that was the name of my company and my brand when I first started. And maybe back in 2006 or 7, something like that, I woke up one morning and all of my stuff was gone. All of my assets, my website was gone, my contacts were gone. So the hosting company that I was using went out of business, right? And wiped the whole mainframe, all of it was gone. And of course, I think I probably died for a good 20 minutes, right?
Yeah, right.
And but someone that I was seeing at the time was just like, use this as your opportunity to rebrand, right? Like, don't even look at it as if this is something bad that happened. Like, the name was long. I'm Promoting You is not super long, but it gave you an opportunity, or gave me an opportunity, to rebrand and shorten everything. And so as opposed to being I'm Promoting You and that's just the name of the company, now you become IPY Agency, right? So agency is more encompassing, it gives you greater freedom to add other things and not just focus on PR. So I'm like, it doesn't make sense.
Right, like why? No.
But here we are now, 10, 15 years later, and I love it. So there are contacts and connections that I had back then that maybe I'll cross paths with them again, or I found new information, because people grow. People aren't like me. Like, my telephone number's been the same since 2001. So
okay. All right. This is the same. Yeah, look, the number has not.
It has not changed.
Okay, trust me. Okay.
So I love PR. So my clients they live kind of in a lifestyle, wellness, celebrity space. And so all of my clients are celebrity in some capacity, influencer, but then also entrepreneurs and small business owners. And so with that, I work to help them build their brands and bring greater attention to the good things that they have going on. And then if they do something bad, spin it so it sounds like something good.
All right. So, okay. Let's talk a little bit about this, because that's a perfect segue into my next question. My next question. In your opinion, what makes a good publicist?
Okay, so this is twofold, right? Because there are things that make people a good publicist, and then there are things that make you a great publicist, right? Do you want to be a good publicist? Do you want to be a great publicist? And I think at the core of PR and publicity is communication. And so a good publicist knows to communicate story ideas, pitch your talent, pitch your clients. Those are good publicists. A great publicist knows how to pick up the phone. I think we have gotten so far removed from communicating effectively. Like, we communicate, but we don't communicate effectively. And with that, I mean, a lot of the publicists today rely on social media. A lot of publicists rely on, just waiting for this opportunity to fall into their lap. Or, they send an email with no follow-up, and there's just no communication. There's no relationship building anymore. And that's not to say that you can't build relationships through email, because you absolutely can. Sometimes you're communicating with somebody that's on the other side of the world, but that communication and that relationship is contingent upon communicating effectively. So, checking in, following up, following through. A lot of publicists drop the ball. A lot of journalists complain. As a journalist yourself, a lot of journalists complain that people don't follow through when they say they're going to do something, or you ask them to send you information and you never get it. And then they might hit you 6 months later because they have a new client. And now you're like, no, I didn't forget.
We won't talk about that now. That's for another show, Adrienne. Come on.
I know.
We talk about you. This is an interview with Word with Brownlow, okay? No.
Yeah, but so those are the things. Like, I think to be a great publicist, you definitely need to understand communication and relationship building. And I think you need to be very thorough and transparent in the things that you can do and the things that you can't. And I think that PR has been given such a bad name because people aren't actually publicists, right? And I don't even say that you need to have a degree to be a publicist, because you don't. I have a degree in public relations, but I had my business for about 10 years before I got my degree. And the only reason, being very honest and transparent, like I said, the only reason I went back to school to get my degree is because I assumed that having a degree would get me the job, right? I was just like, man, because some clients are not the ideal clients as well, right? Like, we take on these clients because we want to grow and because we want the money. And for a lot of us, PR is a passion. PR is a passion project anyway, which I'm sure, like having a talk show. When you do things that are unpaid initially, it's a passion project for you, right? And so you have to find your limit and your boundary on when your passion projects end. And people don't always understand that, right? They see you doing things, or they see you doing stuff for other people, and they want it done for them too. And when you talk about money to them, then they disappear. And so, I had a lot of that early on in my career. It's like I might have one client that paid full retainer, and then another client that wanted, I got $500, or, I have $750. And that's not even to say, and I have worked with people, even in 2021, I have worked with people. I have pro bono clients. I have clients that I have given a discount, but it's my choice, right? And it's like, you can't expect it from me and get angry when I don't do it. If I do it because I want to do it, it's because I want to do it. Sure. But back then, I didn't have that option or that luxury, right? So I was just like, okay, PR is not paying me what I needed to pay me. So let me go back to school, get this degree in public relations, apply for a job, and then I'm going to be getting the money. Not. That's the other thing about PR, and I tell for anybody that watches this, if you are a striving publicist or thinking about going into the field of publicity, I'm never going to tell you not to go to school, right? If that's what you want to do, go to school, get a degree. But what I will tell you is that they are not going to hire you without experience. PR is not the field that they're going to say, oh, you have a degree. Okay, cool. Nah, they are not.
So, okay. So I find, first and foremost, I'm glad you said that because A, you're really dropping like gems and you're really giving like knowledge to, things out here. And as you said, you had your business 10 years before you went back to get the degree. When you were like getting started, who were some of the inspirations in your field at the time that you were like, you know what? Yeah, I want to get to this type of stature, or if you didn't have like so-called inspirations that you saw, what was it that, inspired you to want to like go to another level?
So I didn't have anyone specifically. I didn't, because honestly, when I started, PR wasn't a thing. It's like now PR is a thing. Like now everybody want to be a publicist. But for me, starting out, I actually started out like most publicists that you'll have conversations with have started out writing in some capacity, because to be a publicist, you have to write. And so I started out as a journalist. I wrote some for the Baltimore Times, Baltimore Sun, like some local publications that we had. We had a popular, I'm sure every city has a popular, like the largest promo people in your city. And so one of the largest promoters in our town actually had a local magazine. And so I was on that staff. I was an editor for the magazine. We had, like a huge all-white party every year. So everyone in Baltimore, it was like we could get all of Baltimore to come to our parties. And so I would always cover the celebrities, and I just never met strangers, right? So it was like whenever I would do these interviews with people, we'd either exchange telephone numbers, we see each other at other events. And I was like, I like this, I like the feel of this. Like I want to keep going, but I'm obviously not an actress. I did think I was going to be in radio for a minute, but I was like, what can I do? And so I was actually interviewing Nathan Corbett. This was the season of The Wire where they focused on the children, because for Wire fans, like each season had a different subject matter. And so it was the season with the kids, and Nathan Corbett played Donut.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I was interviewing him, and I asked his mom, I was like, does Nathan have a publicist? And she's like, no. And I said, well, let me do it. I said, I think I want to do this. I'll do it for free just to see if this is what I can do. And she said, of course she said, yeah. Because again, PR, it was like, unless you were in the industry deep, right? Like you didn't know to have a publicist. You didn't have an agent. You didn't have a manager. It was just kind of fly by night doing what you do. And so I was like, I'll do it for free. And so I got Nathan in Right On magazine, dating myself.
But these are your accolades. Come on now.
Yes.
Come on.
Yeah, so I got Nathan in Right On, and then I started working with some of the other cast members from The Wire. And again, all of this is free though. I'm just building it up and doing what I need to do. And I was just like, I love it. And I think the allure of PR came because it for me, it's still unbelievable that people paid you to travel and essentially be a babysitter, right? Because this is what we do. As publicists, we making sure you ain't getting in no trouble. We making sure you show up on time. We making sure that every opportunity that I can get you, we can get you. And, like pulling, cause I'm a bully, man. Like, it's like when we somewhere, I'm moving through crowds and getting you indoors you ain't supposed to be in. Right. But that's what we do. And so, people will see the pictures and see you at the award shows and on the red carpet. And that also became the detriment, right? So I say PR is a gift and a curse, because a great publicist is going to do all these things for you. A good publicist is going to do these things because it's going to help them do those things for them too. So, I hear so many complaints about publicists. Oh yeah, I was paying this person to do my PR, but they wanted to be on the red carpet more than I did. Or, it was like this person I paid was getting these opportunities and I would never get it, but they would be at the party. It's like, so now every time we have conversations with potential clients, we have to do damage control for the art of public relations before they'll even consider signing, because all of these bad experiences that they've had.
You know what? I have some comments, but after we finish this interview, and then I could, because I feel, look, we can have these conversations. We're not gonna have these conversations. But anyway, that's a whole nother private show. Y'all gotta pay to anyway, so you've been hitting on this, man, the whole time we've been talking. So let's just put it out here, because there is confusion. All right. So the confusion between public relations and being a publicist. For those who aren't, new to the game, and you know what? I woke up one day, hey, I got this great idea. I want everybody to know. Look, I want you to do this for me. How come I'm not on Oprah? Oprah should be talking to me, not Meghan Markle. Like, okay. Yeah. Anyway, so yes, please break it down for those who are so confused by this.
Yeah, so I know a lot of publicists are high level offended when you call us a PR. We aren't PR. PR is what we do. And we are publicists. So the study and the art of public relations is, like maintaining our clients' reputations, highlighting their story, bringing attention to their success and awareness, like I mentioned earlier. But the title is actually publicist or public relations specialist, those types of things. But I think that more of the confusion comes in with the roles and the people around you, right? So, you hire a publicist and then you want that publicist to book you gigs. Publicists don't book you gigs. That's not what we do. You need a manager or an agent. And the best way to understand this is to know that if it costs you money, it's not PR, because we work in earned media. Earned media is just that. It's media that you earn. It's free. There's no cost involved, but it requires pitching and it requires time. And I think a lot of people become disenchanted and disenfranchised with PR because they don't understand that it takes a minute. Because this is free, these people are under no obligation to post about you, talk about you, interview you, show up. It's free. Like they're giving you this because your story was interesting enough for them to talk about it. If your story's not interesting enough for them to talk about it, they're not going to talk about it. If you still want them to talk about it, then you need to pay them to talk about it, which is marketing or advertising. Those are the things that are going to guarantee that you see your face, and it still ain't going to be on the cover of Oprah or nothing like that, because that's earned media and they decide who's on the cover of their magazine. So it still ain't going to be there. It might be inside, but you're going to have paid to be inside because you wanted a guaranteed feature, guaranteed interview, so you paid for it. And so people, I think it's such a disconnect and a misunderstanding, because they will say another complaint, I paid somebody and I didn't get any gigs, or, I wasn't hired to speak anywhere. Well, yeah, that's because you paid for the wrong thing. If that's what and you should have conversations. And I think that people on both sides don't do their due diligence, right? As a talent, as an entrepreneur, as a small business owner, you need to do your due diligence with the person that you want to hire to do your PR. Interview your people. As a publicist, do your due diligence with the client, because, on both sides, there are detrimental things. And you have had, and I have another book, if you went down a rabbit hole. So I have another book, it's called Public Relations Ain't Free. And, and I wrote this book because obviously with the title, people, I think public relations is one of a handful of set job titles that people want to barter. like with PR, it's always a barter system. Okay, well, can I pay you when you place something? Can I pay you when I get an interview? Can I pay? And no, because it takes time. If I'm constantly pitching you, emailing you, submitting you for things, who's paying for my time if you only pay for it once the interview drops? Are you working for free? Are you going to say, all right, well, I'll just do your taxes, until you get a return, and then you just pay me then? Or, you pay attorneys on retainer. There are teledoctors and doctors that you pay monthly for your health care. You pay for insurance. You pay for health insurance. You pay for car insurance. You pay your mortgage. You know what I mean? Like, these people want their money, like the same way we need our money, because we do. I've had clients who I pitched stories for them in August of one year, and the story didn't drop until January the next year. And that's because editors have an editorial calendar. All these magazines have calendars that they follow. And if your story doesn't align with what they're doing at the moment, then it has to wait. They'll either not do it at all, or they'll include you at a later time. And so we just have to understand that PR is a process. And if you don't trust the process, you honestly shouldn't invest in PR. And I tell people that all the time. Like, it's the truth. Like, if you are a person that nitpicks your funds, needs to know where your money goes, you need a return on your investment, these are all valid things. It's nothing wrong with that. But if those are your things, then PR is not the thing to invest in, because you are not getting an instant return on your investment, because PR is intangible.
So once again, hitting on the points. Man, look, listen, ladies and gentlemen, she's dropping the knowledge for y'all, okay? I mean, if you really listen closely, she just told you. Listen, because I can sympathize with you all, because I'm not, man, look, I'm just gonna keep it real. You don't know how many times I sit back on social media trying to do my own thing, and I see so many other things that come across for journalists. Well, I need this, I need that. How come this isn't this? How come this isn't that? And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna do my own thing over here. No, just keep it pushing, because it's a little messy over there right now. Yeah. But if people want to get in contact with you, how can people get in contact with Miss Adrienne Allen? I mean, man, want to be down with IPI? I want to be down.
So I started out as I'm promoting you. So my IG has always been the same. I'm promoting you on IG, just promoting you on Twitter, and promoting you on Clubhouse, and then IPY Agency LLC on Facebook.
Okay, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Please reach out, because once again, and I'm gonna do a shameless plug for you, okay? Just because, and I mean, I'm not getting paid, but just because, seriously, and I just want to talk about this for a second. One of the words I use, some of the words I used were connections, trust, and resourceful. And, like you, when I first started doing this will be my second year coming up in April. So, man.
Congratulations.
I knew that I couldn't go to Fox Soul and be like, you know what? You all should give me a show. And I want my show to be about this. I couldn't go to CNN and be like, hey, you know what? I know Don Lemon got a show, but ain't nobody talking to, man, ain't nobody trying to get Otis over there, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, man, look, y'all need to put me on, you know what I'm saying? I want this David Ruffin over here,
Go ahead, David.
So I had to think about it, create my own, start my own, do my own. Because sometimes, like you have to build your own table. They're not going to give you they're not going to give you a seat.
Yep.
Build your own. And if you don't know how to build your own, you better learn. Google. Yep. I'm sorry, Google. All right.
And Google is my best friend.
Hey, look, Google people. All right, look. Hey. So look, I am enjoying this conversation. I mean, you are dropping these gems. You are opening eyes. man, for those of you all listening. But we come to the last question that my show's known for. So I'm going to ask Miss Adrienne Allen, what is the one word that best describes you and why?
Persistence. I am persistent. I think that persistent describes me. I think that persistence has been with me throughout my entire journey, right? It's like without being persistent, I wouldn't be where I am right now. I left home really early. I've been working since I was 14. I left home when I was 16. And just life has been a constant uphill battle for so many years it was, right? But it was persistence that kept me going. It was just like, this is not it for me. This is not the end. This is not what my Father in heaven placed over my life.
Right. Okay.
And so I know that being persistent is definitely, because, and you mentioned it, Ty, it's like you have to build your own, right? It's like if it's not there, you build it. And for me, it wasn't there. I was that person who at 30 was still like, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. Even though I knew PR was what I wanted to be, but again, PR was not what was paying me. So it was just like, oh man, like, I don't know, and like I said, and when I went back to school, I was 30. So it was just like, I need to do more. I need to be more. There has to be more, and it was, I have 3 children, and
okay.
For me, and I have a grandbaby now, but
all right, little grandbaby, what's up?
Yeah, well, but so it was just like I had to be persistent to do more. Like I had to create these, even like the Right On feature that I had no experience with PR and doing it effectively, but I knew how to call people and I knew how to talk to people. You know what I mean? So it was just like, and the persistence was keep calling, keep emailing, keep calling, keep emailing, and that's still what I do today. It's still, I'm still following up, which are also key for y'all still watching. For what makes a great publicist is persistence. Like you have to follow up. And I think that, in closing, that's something that a lot of people take for granted when you don't thank your publicist, right? We are the ones that stand in the gap for you. We are the ones that are fighting for you. And it is a constant no. Unless you are somebody that everybody wants to talk to already, it is a constant no. It is a constant I'll pass, or there's no response at all, right? And so without persistence, you would give up. There's nothing. PR is a thankless career path. And it's not to say that we don't have clients that appreciate us, because I definitely do. I have clients who appreciate everything that I do. And I also have clients that appreciate what I do when I do it and then ask for the next thing. So, it's just, it is. And I think that everybody needs to make sure that, if you want something different, you have to have that persistence under your belt.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to put a word out here. My word for you will be genuine. And I'm gonna keep it real, because I can't be anything else. Can't do anything else but keep it real. But, since we've connected via social media and, I've watched, you from afar in action, as you said, you've always been persistent, you've always been genuine, and I can tell who people are, sometimes by the company that they keep. Mm-hmm. If the company speaks very highly of you, which I've interviewed some of your people, and some of your people speak very highly of you. Actually, they're trying to get me to move down to Atlanta for no particular reason, which we're going to talk about that.
Was that key?
So we're going to talk about, man, y'all going to have to pay to get this, look here, man, private conversation. I'm telling you now. Anyway, no, but it's genuine. And the company that you keep, when people speak for you and it's not forced, when they're like, and you're not selling me, but you're like, well, no, man, like if you're ever thinking about it, this is what you need to do, because of X, Y, Z. Okay, you didn't have to do that, what I'm saying, but okay, cool, so genuine, and just your story, everything that we've been talking about, man, 2 books, what I'm saying?
3.
I'm sorry.
I had 3. Yeah, so my other book.
Okay, so look here. You got My Parents Have a Drug Problem, which you can get on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Let's just keep it real, y'all, okay? Amazon, Barnes & Noble. Yeah. Amazon, and I know some of y'all got Prime accounts. Stop playing. Go on there now. Go get it now. My Parents Have a Drug Problem. And what's the second one again?
So going back, was my first book is Conflict Tips for the Modern World, because I'm certified in conflict resolution and conflict management. And so, my first book was Conflict Tips for the Modern World. And that's just, that goes back to communicating effectively, right? A lot of missed opportunities, a lot of disagreements, a lot of lost relationships happen because people don't communicate. And so that book gives you amazing tips on how to communicate effectively, how to resolve conflict, how to work through conflict. Because, and this is for you too, Ty, like how many situations have you had end without warning? Or, it's like something happened that made you feel some kind of way, made them feel some kind of way, and then you just never talked about it again, right? It was just like, it happened, and then we move on with life. But if you would have a conversation and see it from both sides, because we don't want to hear the other side of it. We know how we felt. We don't take into account how they felt or how it made them feel or where they were in their day or where they were in their life. So it's like, there are so many things that happen that affect the conversation, but because we are disconnected in that moment, and trust me, I will disconnect from people, but I'm so much better now. I promise you, Ty, like I was, and I'm from Baltimore. Disconnect is our thing. Like it's, it's like, I don't need to talk to you anymore. Like, no. Right. But I took these courses and I became certified because it's obviously another level to help my clients. Yes. But also it helped me. I actually had a professor in college when I went back, and I took a conflict course with her. And as a grown woman, I was like, oh my God, I want to be you. It's like, how do you do this? Like, what is this? And it's great. And she is an amazing person. I have gone back to school. I'm actually speaking again in her class this Thursday. So she calls me back. Obviously it's virtual this year, but I have gone back to my alma mater to speak to her conflict class because I did. Like I went to her and it was I'm sure, even looking for me, like, and I don't know how much time we had, but even for me, like when I look back over it, it was it probably made her completely awkward. You know what I mean? Like, why is this woman talking about she want to be me? Like, but she was very gracious in the moment. And she was like, no, you don't want to be me. You want to be you. And it was great. But I appreciate her so much because she opened my eyes to something that I never paid attention to before. And I'll leave this, however you edit it, like keep this part in here. There is a very easy way to communicate with people and not force the conversation one-sided. Use I statements. I'll give you a quick synopsis of I statements, but Google I statements and really follow through with I statements, because I statements in conversations help you to remain neutral. I feel that you aren't understanding me. I feel like when you do certain things, you don't understand how I feel. I feel that you aren't sympathetic to what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, not, oh, I'm doing this because you do that. And because you do this is when I do that. No, I feel that you aren't hearing me. Not, well, I shut up because you're not listening. No, I feel you aren't listening to me. Right. Because this is how I feel. You can't change how I feel. You can disagree with how I feel, but I'm going to feel how I feel because it's my feeling. Okay. So when we own our feelings, people can't take that away from you. And that helps with the conversation because you aren't pointing fingers. I'm not blaming you. I'm not shaming you. I'm not telling you to take responsibility for something that you don't own. I'm owning my feelings. I'm owning and communicating with you how you make me feel. And so, okay, I'm sorry.
You coming back for my relationship segments, cracking this cold men's answers to women's questions, because no, I mean, like I know we're applying it to PR, and I know we're applying it to, like, you know, clients or what have you, you know, having the communications, but that's just something that, look, let's just apply it to everything we've been talking about so far. When you go back and apply it to the book, you know, have there been some type of communication, you know, hey, look, you know what? I know we messed up. I know something going on. I know, you know, we putting you in a situation that you don't approve of, or this, that, or what have you, you know. We're going to try to work this out. That will probably give you a different view of how you see things. And, okay, either A, I'm just going to brush this off, or, you know what? I'm really going to sit down and really try to help and work through with, you know, this person, or, you know, my parent, or what have you. When it comes to your clients, you know, like, you have to do something to assure them to pretty much go with your agency, you know, like, hey, you know, you're sitting down with me, as I said before, being genuine. One of the other words I used was trust, connections, being resourceful. I got to know where you're taking me. You know what I'm saying? Like, where you taking me, you know? Like, I mean, true, we could be blind and have the trusting and just allow you to take us to where you feel wherever, you know? I mean, I ain't never been nowhere, so I know I just don't want to be here again.
I don't want to be here.
I don't want to be here, so I don't care where you take me.
Right.
So you have to have communication in order to assure these people, hey, look, I know why you picked me. Man, I'm going to come through with why you picked me.
Right.
Man, being a great publicist.
Great.
Okay, great. All right. You have to have that connection. You have to have that communication. As you said, man, communicating with people like me, you know, hey, Ty, XYZ, you know, this person, I want to pitch this person. So, man, it's something like, look, conflict, everything else, communication is key. So, I mean, and first, I'm just so sorry to cut you off. So, you know, come on.
Oh, no, you're fine. No, you're fine. You are fine. I mean, that is like, and like I said, if you all, that book is on Amazon as well. But if you ever, even for, you know, like men's conversations, I think that, you know, lack of communication obviously is a huge issue in relationships, right? And, you know, I love that my husband is able to share with me that I help him become a better communicator. Because, you know, communication, and he communicated with me, you know, like communication isn't easy for everybody, right? You know, like not everybody is able to share how they feel. They don't want to talk about how they feel. They don't want to address some of the issues that they have internally that may have leaked out externally, and then they just don't want to talk about it, right? And so I am glad that I was able to help him, you know, open up a little more. And I just think that we keep so much inside, right? And it's crazy because a Facebook friend of mine made a post just this week, maybe like Friday, and addressed it to the men, like, men, who do you talk to when you are having a bad day, or when something devastating happens to you? And the majority of the answers was God or the bottle, or, you know, they just don't talk about it. And that's unfortunate, right? Like, why do our men feel like they can't share? Like, why do our men feel like, oh, and you know, I got in so much trouble, but Ty, we can talk about this, but I got in so much trouble because I am genuine, like you said. You know, I feel like, you know, the reality is women suck, right, at dating. Women do, they do. And I say that because, you know, it's like, oh, he had to make a certain amount. Oh, he had to be 6, 7. He had to make 6 figures. I'm not splitting the bills. I'm not paying for dates. I'm not. It's like, what do you? Really, ma'am? Like.
So look, okay. So look, man, I'm so glad you said that. So let's just put on a publicist hat for a second, okay? Because it's like, for these men out here, sometimes when you're faced with all these things, and social media doesn't make it any better.
No.
Okay? Like, that's the number one. If you had to base your dating life off social media, man, a lot of people would be in trouble.
Yeah.
Okay?
Well, a lot of people are in trouble.
Well, a lot of people are in trouble, but still, like, they will be in more trouble than what they are. All right. But no, like, there are just all these things that sometimes I feel are already stacked against you. And if you don't even meet one of the checkpoints, you know, there's just no need. And sometimes I just feel like everybody is in search of this magical unicorn that obviously they selling somewhere out here, because I guess people running up on them, man. They had unicorn burgers or unicorn tacos.
No, they not, because they still single and complain about being single 10 years later. But go ahead.
Yeah, but you know, that's a whole other show for a whole other time, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, but no, I appreciate you being my guest today. Okay, we didn't have ourselves, as I say, old school, a little powwow, right?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
All right, for all my old school people out there listening. All right, but. Man, once again, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Word with Ty Brownlow. I've been your host, Ty Brownlow. Remember, no one is worthless. No story is worthless. You can follow me on all social media platforms at Word with Ty Brownlow. Or just go to my website, tybrownlow.com. Get this wonderful conversation, plus other great interviews. Adrienne Allen.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you.
Oh, man, I appreciate you. Look. Go get those books, ladies and gentlemen. Barnes & Noble, Amazon. Adrienne Allen. Adrienne Allen. Adrienne Allen. Go get it. All right, we out.
Bye, y'all.